Are the Celtics doomed after losing a second straight game at home? The Knicks, they refuse to die. The Thunder finally get a dub for the home team thanks to the other J-Dub. Steph's out for the Warriors. Will we finally see the full manifestation of playoff Jimmy? That's all today on Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On NBA. Thanks so much for making us your first listen of the day. We are free. We are available wherever you get your podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Doug Branson, host of Locked On Hornets and your Shot Clock Sherpa, guiding you through the NBA's biggest stories with the help of Locked On's local experts. And I have two of the best with me, as always, from the Locked On Nuggets podcast and senior NBA writer for the Action Network, Matt Moore. Matt, which 25 to 80-year-old NBA postseason record broken in the second round is your favorite? You have a lot to choose from.
I think all of my favorites are just like the fact there's no home court advantage. Like, I guess fans just don't matter. Just fans, like, you could be there, you could not be there, it doesn't matter. And maybe these teams are just better because of that. Because like it doesn't really matter if the fans are there or not. And the Lakers have to obviously love that, since that's the only reason LeBron has a title with the Lakers.
Yeah, I think if you're a player, you just got to win for yourself. You can't win for the fans. You can't expect that to be the thing. You've got to do it for yourself. I think that's the lesson to take away here. From the Locked On Bulls podcast, we've got Haize. Haize, whose pain are you enjoying the most? Whose Freud are you shottening the most right now?
It's going to give me heat, but definitely Cleveland Cavaliers fans. Because at the start of the season, where I shared a little bit of doubt, and I was just like, hey, let's wait. Oh, my God, you're a Cavs hater. All I said is, let's wait and see what's going to happen. Now, look at you. You had confidence all season long, and it blew up in your face. That's all I'm going to say.
They're missing 3 starters. What are you doing? This is so mean.
I don't care. I'm the Prince of Petty. I'm being 100% petty right now. That's only because they came at me in the comments. I don't care. Matter of fact, all my Clippers hate is transferring over to the Cavs the rest of the offseason.
Oh, he's making a transfer out of the bank of Clippers into the bank of Cavs.
Man, Doug, I wish I could see your face and get your reactions right now. Like, for me, I think it's a matter of, I would go with the Celtics based off of just the overconfidence and the smugness of that entire franchise. I was up late just like constantly refreshing to see if Locked On Celtics had updated, and Karalis didn't update till this morning, and I was very sad. I had to go to bed sad without being able to listen to Karalis.
Well, Matt, be sad no longer. The Boston Celtics blow another 20-point lead to the Knicks and are suddenly down 2-0, heading back to the Garden, or 0-2, down 0-2. Here's John Karalis of Locked On Celtics. He's mad as hell, and he's not going to take it anymore.
Boston Celtics cannot score a bucket in more than 8 minutes in the fourth quarter against the New York Knicks. What is your problem? This time I'm worked up because I laughed off that first game because I thought, okay, outlier shooting, bad, just a bad shooting night. What happened to the poise? What happened to the championship aura? What happened to, you've won a title, you can play carefree, nothing bothers you anymore, you've played on the biggest stage? Where's the Jason Tatum buckets in the fourth quarter? Where's Jaylen Brown in the fourth quarter? At what point do you guys step up, make a play, make a shot? It's not about anything besides making buckets in the fourth quarter.
Now I'm mad. Where are my poise boys? Matt, is that what this is all about? Is it just about the crunch time collapse, getting some buckets in the fourth quarter?
Never poised, John. They were never poised. For 2 years, we've talked about this. We've commented on how the Celtics in these late game situations have looked bad. This is nothing new. You faced 3 teams missing one of their best players and then an overmatched squad that had no business being there in the Mavericks. Oh, they won a championship. So you don't magically transform because you got handed a title. That doesn't happen. You play who's in front of you. The Celtics were great last year. This team has never been good in clutch time. And this execution issues are nothing new. You are not the team that you thought you were. And you're going to have to actually face adversity now. And they can dig out of it. But we can't sit here and be like, what happened to this team? They never existed, John. They were a figment of your imagination, Celtics fans.
This team, I mean, when you look at the way that this game went, right? Like they were up 73-61 to start that fourth quarter. The Knicks go on a 21-2 run. And it just like, when you look at the way that this game went, it's comical almost how it comes down. And it comes down to a few things, right? I want to simplify and make it. The Boston Celtics are terrified to attack the paint. Where's the paint scoring? Where's the attacking? If you're just going to try to shoot yourself back into these games, it's clear. It's not going to happen. Now you find yourself in a position. You cannot lose game 3. You can't lose game 3. I don't know if you can lose game 3 or 4 if you really want to have a chance to get back in this series. There is no toughness. Poise, where's the toughness? There's none of that looking at this Boston Celtics team. We said it. You weren't going to run into a situation where every team that you face off against was going to have a major injury. You're not running into it, and now look at you. You have no toughness, no resolve, no poise, nothing. It's just three-point shooting and hope. The hope is gone. Hope is run out.
Got no change, no hope. Thanks, Obama. So, like, I think it's important to note this. In game 1, in the fourth quarter, 71% of their shots were from three-point range. It was only 42% in game 2. They tried. They got in their heads and got away from Mazzulla ball. I've said this all year that last year's team was balanced all around. They were a great defensive team. They could score on the inside. They could take advantage of mismatches. They were balanced. This year, they are just, I call it the bit, which is basically another word because I don't want to say gimmick. It's just, let's jack some threes. That's all they've been this year. Mazzulla went so far into that now you see when they try and execute drives, they were like 3 of 13 from 2-point range in this fourth quarter. It was wretched. And like some of this is they're relying on Al Horford because the Knicks are kind of daring him and then closing on him. And like Al Horford's 36. Like he's too old for this stuff. He's like 38 actually. So he's missing those. Tatum, and then, oh my God, just a disaster class from Jason Tatum. It was abysmal, like forcing the faded. He went into that mode where he's like, I'm Kobe Bryant. And it's like, man, you play in a different era. You're a different type player. You might get there, but you're not there. This is not the time for you to be working on your fadeaway. Overall, horrible game planning and horrible coaching, honestly, from Joe Mazzulla.
Well, speaking of coaching, what's gotten into the Knicks? Are we unfiring Tibbs now? Because I think this show was pretty close to firing Tibbs. And now two pretty good coaching performances, I would say.
Yeah, I gotta give credit. I gotta hand it to the man. I gotta take the L. You know, him going into this series and being like, I'm gonna trust my guys to switch more, I think has really paid off. And the way that they've schemed it, it's been really interesting. So, like on a key possession last night, Tatum tries spinning baseline, and Josh Hart is right there because the Celtics have Porzingis in the dunker spot, which I'm like, why are you there and not spaced to 3? But they've brought enough help to be like, hey, we know who they're going to try and drive with. We know who their only real interior weapons are. We're just going to stay home on those guys. Now, to be fair, he's getting away with some stuff on stuff like Derek White, who is honestly probably going to shoot better as the series goes on. He had another good scoring performance, but going to be even better because they're leaving him open. But I got to give Tibbs some credit here, Haize. The defensive stuff has paid some dividends, at least in these fourth quarters.
Yeah, it has. And Tibbs is coaching his butt off, and you need that. You need what this team has been doing here, exactly what they had to do if they wanted to have success as the playoffs went on, and it's what they needed to do in the regular season. I'm glad they're turning it on. You're still getting some Jalen Brunson magic, of course. Defensive play from Mikal Bridges. Mikal doesn't score. Well, I don't think he scored a point until the fourth quarter in that game yesterday. So, they're getting the right contributions from everybody at the right time. They just got to keep it up.
Leaving Mitchell Robinson in the game long enough to let Mazzulla do the hack-a-Mitchell and get the Boston Celtics in the bonus, which would pay off for Jalen Brunson late in the game. Just some good stuff there. So really quickly, Boston Celtics, how cooked are they? Down 2 games. How cooked are they, Matt?
The thermometer is broken, and I have no reading on the temperature right now. I am just trying to eyeball this because look, they were up 20 twice. This is like the Doc Rivers. I don't get any credit for going up 3-1. I only get credit for blowing it. It's literally that again. They should have won probably at least one of these games, if not both. If home court does an advantage, then the Knicks going home doesn't help. I don't feel like the Knicks are playing with a ton of confidence and the Celtics are down, but I can't look at these games and say that they're screwed. On the other hand, the Knicks are just going to find a way to win one more, and then you're in a game 7 and it's a coin flip. I do not have a read, Haize. I have no idea what's going to happen in the rest of the series.
Yeah, because as much as this was a struggle, right? Like Jason Tatum they let Jason Tatum completely go coast to coast without touching any dunk, and they were close to winning that game, and it would have been 1-1, right? So I can't say that they're completely cooked, but I can say this: it's not looking good right now. I'm a little concerned. Like I'm worried that the cheesecake is going to split. That's what I'm worried about is going to happen here. So we'll see.
Something has to change. They might be cooked, but I think the temperature has to be raised at this point. Yesterday, I said only 6 teams have ever come back after dropping the first 2 games at home in NBA history. One of those teams was the 2017 Boston Celtics, who did it against, I'm sorry, Haize, it was against the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah, but the Bulls would have won that series if Rajon Rondo didn't go out in that series. So there's always context, but the pain not only reserved for the Chicago Bulls and Haize on this show. Coming up on Locked On NBA, we'll talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder destroying the Denver Nuggets to finally get a home win. How did they do it? What was the key sub? What was the key adjustment for Oklahoma City? We'll find out. Plus, later on in the show, we've got the rumor mill starting, the silly season starting across the Locked On NBA network of local podcasts. We've got Giannis to LA. We've got Kevin Durant to Miami. I'll ask Matt and Haize how realistic all of these scenarios are. That's coming up. Stay with us. Locked On NBA. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by Upwork. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time, and with Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts that are ready to take your business to the next level. Upwork connects you with top freelance talent across IT, AI, web development, marketing, and more. Whether you need an extra hand for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. This is actually not the only podcast that I produce, and occasionally I need help editing. Upwork connected me with a freelance expert who delivered incredible results. Posting a job was free, it was simple, and within a day, I had multiple qualified candidates to choose from. Visit Upwork.com and post your job for free today. That's Upwork, UPWORK.com, Upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business now. Today's episode is also brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game, particularly in these playoffs. Well, I guess unless you're a home fan, it's not as great. But every bucket, every defensive stop, every moment still feels huge. It's electric in the arena, and with Game Time, you can be part of it all without the stress of last-minute ticket hunting. Game Time makes it fast and easy to get playoff tickets even when demand is sky high. Prices on the app actually drop as tip-off gets closer, and you can save up to 60% with last-minute deals. Plus, with all-in pricing, there are no surprise fees at checkout. What you see is what you pay. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. More Locked On NBA ahead. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. I want to circle back to the other game last night, Oklahoma City against Denver. The OKC Thunder finally brought calm to the chaos and got a home team win in the second round, but they had to start a barroom brawl to do it. Here's Rylan Stiles of Locked On Thunder with the substitution that made all the difference for the Thunder.
Jaylen Williams from Arkansas, J. Will, from the second he checked into this game, he injected something into this series that the Thunder had not had to this point. And this is a guy in J. Will who, if you go back and look at the March games, he played well against Denver. And he played well, especially that Sunday game that you won. Whenever Chet got into foul trouble, he had to come in and he filled in admirably defensively. And he filled in really well offensively, getting hot from three. And tonight was a different verse, same as the first, only to the nth degree, because it was all about Jay Will's defense. He did an elite job of fighting for post positioning. He literally was holding Jokic and not letting him move without the basketball as they fought and slapped hands and pulled on jerseys and bumped each other and had all the playoff physicality. They had all the things from the early 2000s that we say we love about the game until it happens in front of our eyes. Then we cling and hope that the whistle comes back. This turnaround from the Thunder in game number 2 is not possible without their defense against Nikola Jokic.
A couple of great things about that clip. Rylan having to clarify which Jay Williams he's talking about because the Thunder have 17 of them that they can utilize. And also the passive-aggressive non-mention of the foul calling complaints from Nuggets fans. It's all great. Haize, your thoughts on how this OKC response unfolded?
I mean, it unfolded. It's like somebody... Oh, you open the door and somebody just starts throwing haymakers at you before you even know what's going on. That's what they did. They blitzed. The whole first quarter was a run. 45-21 run. The entirety of the first quarter was a run by the OKC Thunder. It was like watching somebody get robbed is what that is. Like it was ridiculous to watch. It was amazing to watch because they came up with such intensity that you could tell that them dropping that game one, it set with them. And they sat there and they ruminated on that until the beginning of this game, and they just unleashed it all. When Alex Caruso didn't check in, he only played 59 seconds in the first quarter of this game, and they were already up by a huge lead. They had already snuffed them out. Like it felt like this was a team that said there is no way that we're going to lose game 2, and they came up and lived up to it.
They had to. They can't go down 0-2. What serious contender would go down 0-2 at home? So. They did what they had to do, and they jumped on from the beginning, acting like Jay Will was the difference. I love Jay Will. Woo pig, by the way. But come on now, Rylan, let's not make folk heroes out of nothing. The game was already over at that point. The Thunder came out and said, we're not losing this game. We're going to jump all over you. We're going to force turnovers. We are dogs. Woo, woo, woo. And the Nuggets were kind of like, that's fine. We got the split. We'll see you guys back in Denver. That's it. That's all this game was. When Rylan talked about this physicality, like, oh, people love it until they start getting it. There were 68 free throws in this game, Rylan. 68. Some stuff was being, and Rylan said this on Twitter, that some stuff was being called. They called perimeter touch fouls all night. And if you were bumping on down low, then no. I don't mind either. We can play Bloodsport. I prefer that. But don't be calling the touch fouls on the perimeter for J-Dub and Shea and then being like, no, you can absolutely suplex Jokic and that's fine. The inconsistency is the problem here, not which way the whistle went. Just have it consistent. Everybody can tackle everybody, and I'm perfectly fine with that. It wouldn't have made a difference, though. The Thunder came out in this game and was absolute belt to behind from the absolute beginning because they had to. Now we'll see what happens. It's 1-1. It doesn't matter. I'd say this, Doug. I'm not saying that there's a way that they could have done this, like play worse. I never like it when teams do this, when it's like, oh, we put up 149 points on you and beat you by 30. I looked up the numbers. If you're coming off of that type of performance when you lost game 1, teams are 6-9 straight up in the next game with a margin of 30 if you score over 130 points because you get too confident being like, oh, yeah, everything's fine now. We'll see what happens in game 3, but OKC's really good.
And this was the most human game I think I've ever seen from Nikola Jokic in my life. Like
the Clipper series, he had some real tough ones.
Yeah, but he still had big numbers even if it was inefficient. Like 17, 8, and 6 from Jokic just seems like that's usually first quarter production from Jokic.
Yeah, well, he didn't play the fourth too, so it's like true. Probably could have gotten some, but maybe not. Maybe he couldn't. Maybe it's just what I don't know. Maybe they fought. It wasn't Rui Hachimura and it wasn't this other guy and this wasn't. But maybe Jaylen Williams is the Jokic stopper. So
Matt, you prefer Bloodsport. Do the Denver Nuggets prefer that? Can they win a series if OKC maintains this level of aggression on defense? Do they have an adjustment that they can make?
It'll be tough, but it makes it a lot easier to contain the perimeter penetration, right? Denver's entire problem is that they can't contain on the perimeter, so they have to help, and then you're in rotation and you give up those corner threes. Like, that's their big problem. So if you actually allow guys to defend on the perimeter, like this league needs to allow defenders to do, then they're going to be a lot more alive to win this series. Shea can still break that down. Shea can still beat that. J-Dub can still beat that. They're more athletic and faster than Denver's defenders, but it gives them a better opportunity if it goes both ways. But if this is going to be a series that's officiated by a returning Scott Foster after a month off due to an injury, it looked like he had no idea how to officiate a basketball game or a football game, then
it's kind of seemed like a football game at times, right?
Yeah. But again, it wasn't 68 free throws. Like, I'm okay. Again, I'm okay with Bloodsport. Let's play Bloodsport, but don't be calling touch fouls. That's my only thing.
All right, so it's an interesting contrast here between the Celtics and the Thunder, in that I think you have one team that took accountability for game one and promised something different and delivered in the Thunder, and maybe the Celtics not so much. It seemed like they treated that game one as, okay, well, we just shot poorly and now we're gonna shoot better, and it didn't work.
I really wonder if they watched that game, Haize. That's what I wondered, is like, I think the Thunder were going to come out and do this regardless, because that's what you should do, and they're a professional organization. And I think those guys are wired right. But I do wonder if they watched the Celtics blow that game in the locker room, because those games are always on the TV in the locker room. If they watched that before the game and were like, all right, we're not letting this happen.
Could be. I'm just glad with the energy. Like you said, they can't have a letdown now in game 3. You can't go back to Denver and let Denver come out. And we know that Denver's going to try to respond to this, and it's going to be a fun game 3 to watch.
Coming up on Locked On NBA, Steph Curry is out. We know that. And the Golden State Warriors, they've promised that they are looking past that and are going to adapt to what comes. Will they deliver on that promise against the Wolves? Can playoff Jimmy reemerge or emerge for the first time for the Golden State Warriors? That's coming up on Locked On NBA. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by Open Phone. If you're running a business, every missed call could be a missed opportunity. Just think about it. Last time that you had a service emergency, did you wait for someone to call you back? Probably not. That's why you need Open Phone, the #1 business phone system that streamlines your customer communication and helps you scale, all from an app on your phone or computer. I love that I don't need to carry 2 phones. With Open Phone, I can manage business calls and texts from one app, whether I'm at my desk or I'm out on the go. My favorite feature is the shared inbox. Your whole team can jump into any conversation without missing a beat. Plus, the AI call transcripts and summaries are game changers for staying on top of follow-ups and customer interactions. And right now, OpenPhone is offering our listeners 20% off your first 6 months. Just go to openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. That's openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. And if you're switching from another provider, they will even port your number over for free. OpenPhone. No missed calls, no missed customers. More Locked On NBA ahead. Thanks again for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. The Golden State Warriors will be without Steph Curry for at least the next week, which means they have to put their focus on life without him until at least a possible Game 6. Let's check in with Charlie Walter of Locked On Warriors on the player he thinks needs to step up the most.
Jimmy Butler. He had 20 in the game, but he went 7 of 20. He only got to the free throw line 6 times. He's a merchant. He can get there 14 times with ease. So that's kind of my wild card. You heard Jimmy say, we're going to hold down the fort. And when Jimmy talks, I listen and I believe what he says. And let's not forget, playoff Jimmy is real. And there is some pressure now on him to kind of take over. And whether it's making the right plays through facilitating at all times and finding the open man, or just taking over. And so that's the big thing to me, is I do think that we are sleeping a little bit on how good Jimmy Butler is. Yes, you lose Steph Curry, but you still have the #1 defense in the NBA since Jimmy's arrival. And you have someone that can give you 32 points seriously. And the biggest thing for me is I'm just not that impressed with the Wolves.
All right, Matt, if you're the Warriors, how do you help Jimmy Butler become playoff Jimmy?
Okay, so here's the key. All right, you're going to want contacts from Russian scientists, okay? And then you get some plutonium. And then you got to build a DeLorean. All right. Now, if you accelerate to 88 miles an hour, you should be able to reach 2022 when Jimmy Butler was actually playoff Jimmy. You should be able to do it. Now, I don't know if that's going to be possible in your region, but that's what you got to do. What are we doing here? 19 points on 44% shooting and 29% from three in these playoffs so far. Okay. Last year, playoffs, 27. Hey, pretty good. 6-6. You know why? Because they didn't play that often. That was in that was the 23 year. That was a great run from him because he played the Milwaukee Bucks. Are the Wolves the Bucks? No. Jimmy can have a game. Here's what's going to happen, Haize. Jimmy's going to have a game where he looks like playoff Jimmy, and everyone's going to go, oh man, playoff Jimmy. And then he's going to vanish for 3 games, and no one's going to say anything. And then he might do it again, playoff Jimmy. And then he's going to vanish again. He's 35 years old. That's not happening. You're not getting him for enough that you're going to need. Other guys are going to have to step up for Golden State. They can win this with defense. They can't win it with playoff Jimmy.
Yeah, they needed to be focused more. Like, is nobody giving credit to playoff Buddy here? Like, I mean, that's who that everybody really needs to be talking about is playoff Buddy, because Buddy over the last 2 games has saved your bacon. So I think we need to be giving, and not to say that Jimmy Butler is going to have a place in especially defense and getting to the free throw line. He's going to do things, but you need more than that. This isn't the time anymore where Jimmy Butler can carry you. Like you said, you're not facing off against the Milwaukee Bucks here, right? So. And Anthony Edwards, I think the Wolves are going to try to come out much like the OKC Thunder did, and they're going to try to make a statement here in game 2. So you're going to need more than Jimmy. Jimmy can't do it alone. You're going to need Dre to hit open shots, which he did in the first half of the last game, not so much in the second half. You're going to need Buddy Hield. And please, can someone put out an APB for Pods? Because I don't know if his game showed up in the playoffs. I don't know.
Haize, you're a smart man and great minds think alike. Let's hear from Ben Beacon of Locked On Wolves on how the Wolves should adjust their focus with Steph Curry on the sidelines.
After Steph went down, like the Warriors had a 36-point third quarter. They had just a 19-point fourth quarter, and so much of that offense was some high-volume Jimmy Butler stuff. There, the lucky bank shot from 3 is Jimmy Butler being Jimmy Butler, but also some tough mid-range attempts from Jimmy. And then also Buddy Hield getting hot. Not quite game 7 versus Houston on Sunday hot, but Buddy Hield getting hot. And the Wolves have to basically guard Buddy Hield the way that they would have guarded Steph Curry. They have to treat him like he's Steph Curry because he's the only true, repeatable shooting threat. Like, Draymond hit 4 threes. That's not happening again. Like, nobody else on the Warriors strikes fear in the heart of anybody when it comes to launching threes. Jimmy's obviously still the most talented scorer and will surely be the leading scorer on this team, saying Steph Curry. But most of his stuff is going to be hard fought in the paint, drawing fouls, mid-range stuff. Jimmy doesn't want to shoot threes. They'll run a couple plays to get him corner looks like they did early in the game. That's fine. But you don't want Buddy Hield scoring 24 on 19 shots.
Okay, so we talked a lot about the Wolves' adjustments to what the Warriors are going to do to adapt without Steph Curry. But is this game 2 really more about what the Wolves need to do internally, similar to our conversations around the OKC Thunder and the Boston Celtics? Is this game really more about Anthony Edwards' leadership and other aspects of what the Wolves need to do to play better offensively, Matt?
Yeah, I think so. Look, but Edwards was 1 of 5 when guarded by Buddy Hield in game 1. Either that's just variance or come on, Ant. Let's be serious here. He was 1 of 5. The Dante DiVincenzo was 1 of 4 guarded by Buddy Hield. That's the way to attack him. Expose that guy on defense. Make Buddy Hield be a key defender for this elite defense. If you attack him and get downhill and you pressure him, then all of a sudden Kerr's gonna be like, I don't know if I can have him out there. And if you take Buddy Hield off the floor, they can't score. They will not score. I do think this is entirely under the Wolves' control. Now, I don't know if they're going to do it because this Warriors team reminds me a lot of that Heat team in that it's just voodoo. Like, there's no real plausible reason. None of this is logical, Haize. This is just I don't think the Warriors are actually really any good at all. It's just voodoo stuff like the Heat were doing. I don't have any other explanation for it. If the Wolves take care of business, they should roll tonight.
Yeah, and that's what they need to be aiming to do, is to come in here to take care of business. This needs to be a game where you're motivated to make a statement. I get Steph's out and can only be so much of that, but this is about Anthony Edwards' leadership, in my opinion. And Chris Finch alluded to that with his comments after the game last game. Ant's done such a good job this year, and not being also the verbal leader, but also holding himself accountable. And that sometimes for younger players can be a little bit harder. You can say what you want from the team. You can say that went wrong, but what's your place in it? He's been so good at that. Now it's time for him to do what he's been talking about all throughout the season and calling out what's been wrong, but also lead by example throughout this season. Or throughout this game tonight. In the last series, I think it was overlooked because the Wolves were winning against the Lakers, but it's not like Ant had the best games. He facilitated well, but he didn't always shoot the ball the best in those last couple of games. Ant's going to have to come out here and set the tone today. His leadership is hugely important for them getting this thing back under control tonight against the Golden State Warriors.
All right, the top contenders fighting to keep their head above water in the second round. But while that's happening, the speculation around the top talent sitting at home, it's heating up. We're in the silly season, and no one covers it like our local experts here on the Locked On NBA network of podcasts. Howard Beck on the Zach Lowe Show says that Giannis is already narrowing his list of possible trade destinations to major markets. The Miami Heat have been rumored with a handful of teams to be a landing spot for Kevin Durant. Locked On Lakers and Locked On Heat discuss both scenarios today. Take a listen.
Really surprised if the Lakers can offer the best possible deal for the Bucks, because the Bucks, they need high draft picks, they need young talent.
The Lakers have to show in the near and long term that they can put a good team around Luka. If you immediately start changing your whole direction in terms of how you're team building to maybe kind of sort of give yourself a crack at Giannis, you are not doing the thing that you need to do to build around Luka. Not even just realistic, unrealistic. Philosophically, it's a terrible idea.
Durant in Miami, what do you think?
I think it's a great idea. On the surface, there are things to consider, and there are potential ramifications. But in terms of what Miami is looking for, a superstar, you can't go wrong. He is still one of the best scorers in the league, even at 36. And I know a lot of people are already making the comparison. Well, you weren't willing to give Jimmy Butler the extension. You had concerns about Jimmy's availability and Jimmy's age. Yes, those concerns still apply to both Jimmy and to Kevin Durant, but Durant's just a better player.
All right, Giannis to LA, Kevin Durant to Miami. Haize, which of these is closer to reality in your mind?
I'd say, I guess, KD to Miami, because I do think that's a move that Pat Riley will put all the chips on the table to make happen. Not to say the Lakers necessarily won't with Giannis. I have some questions about the Giannis fit with Luka on that team anyway, but I think Kevin Durant to Miami just makes more sense. It makes more sense basketball-wise. It makes more sense to Pat Riley, who runs that team, and I think that Eric Spoelstra would love having a player like that. It's not what I think they should do, but it is the one that I think that's more likely.
So Luka goes to LA, and he's a Jordan athlete, and that's a Nike company, and Giannis is a Nike athlete. Just gonna go ahead and throw that out there. I just feel, So I just feel I will always believe the most likely outcome is a star player goes to the Lakers. This is just like what we know they want. They want to live in LA and play for the marquee franchise. That's what they want to do. And until that doesn't happen, I'm going to think that that's the most likely outcome. I think they're both pretty likely. Both of them make a lot of sense, and I actually wouldn't mind it. KD's a good stopgap to play out the rest of the Bam era, and then you can really finally, after that, be like, all right, now we got to tear it down. I don't mind that, because you can then justify trading Bam at that point.
Is there something to the Kamenetsky brothers' argument that, you know, what you would have to do as the Lakers franchise to set yourself up for a potential Giannis trade, in order the assets that you would have to acquire would actually slow down building around Luka before you could actually make it happen, and that would be detrimental for the build in general. I mean, is there anything to that argument?
You can't keep LeBron. You can't have all three. If you have all three, you don't have enough. You're not going to be like these teams that are top heavy and the CBA restricts it, and you're not going to be able to add the guys you need to. LeBron can't stay. You can add Giannis and use LeBron as a trade chip and get stuff back that helps reinforce your team, but you're gonna have to work with him on that. You better repair that relationship as well as you can and figure out what he's willing to do if he's not going to be in LA. But that to me is like the hang up here is LeBron's got a lot of leverage and a lot of power in the situation. You can't have Giannis and Luka and LeBron and then have the rest of the roster look like anything serious.
Haize, I'm curious, what makes you raise an eyebrow at the fit between Luka and Giannis?
I just think that they both need the ball in their hands. Neither one is a great shooter. So the question around spacing goes in that, and you're gonna have to add that, and you're still gonna need a defensive threat at center and a rim protector there. I just don't know if it, like, not to say that it does not have the talent. Giannis and Luka are two of the most talented players in the league. They'll figure it out. But I just think that it does, like, it's gonna take a year for them to figure out how to play together. I just think.
I will say I checked in with two people around the league, and their feeling right now is that they're not expecting Giannis to ask out. That's their expectation right now. That can change. Howard Beck's reporting that those Lakers are going to be on his list. I'm just very curious as to see like what actually happens here with what Giannis wants. And the most likely situation is he does ask out and the Lakers are on the list. That's the most likely scenario. But I think until that happens, we got to leave open the possibility of him just staying.
All right, we will be covering it the whole way this summer here on Locked On NBA. If you like what you heard today, subscribe wherever you get podcasts. That includes YouTube. Thanks to Matt and Haize for their expertise every day. Thank you for making Locked On NBA your first listen. For your second listen, make sure you're checking out Locked On NBA Game Night tonight. Every game, every night, until an NBA champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find NBA Game Night on this feed on YouTube or wherever you get podcasts. Enjoy tonight's action. Be kind to each other. We're going to see you right back here to wrap up the week tomorrow on Locked On NBA.